Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. Everything looks and sounds good. I see you down there asking for the link. I see you. The camera is up too high like it was last night, but we're gonna work with it. We're gonna rock with it. I might try this. Anyway, I don't think I like the high camera. But anyway, we're already here. Shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. Let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What is going on? What's up, good people? What's up, good people? What's up, good people? Like to welcome everybody in the. Okay, we got to get right. We got to get right into it. Hold on. Let me see. Right now, y'all can't see it, but right now there's going to be a possibility of, like, you're on the air. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
Okay, you're there. You're there. Okay, you didn't acknowledge or look this way. All right.
My bad.
You're gonna start another fire.
Yeah, this is let's do this for the second time, see how it works out.
Last night when we was on Red Sings the Blues, we were talking, and then out of nowhere we just saw Ike go like this, and then we heard like a beep 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 beep. We warned him that he's gonna set his house on fire with whatever the hell that is back there. Like, what is going on? Why are you doing this to yourself?
I don't know, man. That's how I get it done. You got to trial and error. Just got to keep on pushing until it works out. That's how you make it.
Yeah, that's not a normal. That's not like a candle. That's something else. Nope. What is that? What the hell is that behind you? That's about to kill you.
It's like an ethanol. Well, like the isotopyl alcohol. It's a burner of that. So you put it in this little chamber. You light it up, and I'm sure you've played around with that stuff before. So some of us even like to put it on our hand and set our hands on fire.
Oh, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it's easy to put out and all that kind of stuff, but it just burns real nice. I kind of like it.
Okay. All right. It looks too close to the wall. It's too close to the wall. You gotta. All right. Welcome to the show. Definitely enjoyed you and had a great time with you, Red Sings the Blues, and Dr. Thunder last night. That was definitely a good stream, good conversation, good build, as they say. Is definitely a good build, a good conversation. Before we get into this topic here, because this is a good topic, good discussion. I want to I guess pick your brain a little bit, because you had referenced the conversation that I had with Obsidian, where he was saying that, and I like the way he thinks and his brain works. When he was talking, almost military strategy, I think it was an off the air conversation, so I kind of hesitate to have this on the air right now. But he had the some would possibly say a grandiose idea of looking at the fact that the great Derek Jackson has fallen. His subscribers are jumping from the ship. There's other Derek Jackson imitators sprouting up. He's saying that we need to get an aggressive strategy to try to take over market share of that audience instead of just making response videos to these new guys sprouting up. What's the strategy to try to take market share on that audience, that female audience in the manosphere? The manosphere do an aggressive plan to go and get that audience from them. What was your thoughts on that?
The thing is, from just a pure business standpoint, it is never a question, right? Again, we have to say business. I have to emphasize business, right? Which there is a business aspect to this whole thing. There's a business aspect to everything. We live in an economic planet, right? You got to exchange value for value. There's always business going on. So from that standpoint, and even if you're a political party with a political stance, which may be more analogous to, let's say, the Manosphere, right? Where it's like, okay, where it's a business, but we have some, you may call it values, you may call it, some people call it talking points or whatever it may be. You have a stance, you have a thing that you're trying to drive home and so on and so forth. You have a social program. But from a business standpoint, it is never a question as to whether or not you should get more clients. You never say, oh, that money over there is not good. Those eyeballs over there are not good. It's always a question of, well, then what is the trade-off, right? What is the compromise? Because there's always a trade-off, right? So the question is, how do you get them?
Yep.
And is it going to affect something which you consider fundamental? And I don't think that a lot of people jump to conclusions, right? They jump to it must affect something fundamental, right? And really, they're just showing their hand in some kind of strange way. I'm not going to call them out or anything, but I think they're showing their hand. But it does not necessarily have to compromise something that's fundamental. You may then have to discuss what are the things that are actually fundamental, because maybe some things that are fundamental to your movement, your social program, and so on and so forth, are not as fundamental as you think. And maybe it's more important to bring in more people into the tent and so on and so forth. Because all these, if you take political parties again, which are more analogous to, what's going on here in Manosphere YouTube, you create these big tents whereby, let's say you take the Republican Party, where you can have libertarians, whom are these, generally kind of hyper-rational, individualistic, perhaps very atheistic type people. You pair them up with Christians, and you pair them up. You get the whole idea, right? You don't say, oh, the libertarians are not just going to be like, and this is why the Libertarian Party will never win, is because of the way they are, right? They tend to be, no, this is down the line, it's just me and us and my way, and it's like herding cats. They don't want to bring other people into the tent. They don't compromise, and so on and so forth. So it's fine if you want to have a purist group of, let's say, a libertarian-esque type group. But if you want to do business, or if you want to expand your influence, if you want to have an impact on the world, so on and so forth, then you have to do the big tent thing. Then there's a question about what is fundamental. How can you bridge the gap? What can you say? What is common to the Christian and the libertarian, for example? What brings them together? That kind of a thing. But I would say that it is definitely an interesting, and by interesting, I don't mean, oh, it's interesting. I mean, it is a worthwhile endeavor to consider, okay, Bernard, how could you take your female audience from 10% to 25%? What would that look like? In other words, like, what would you even do, right? Would you perhaps collaborate more with female content creators in this space, okay, does that mean your message gets watered down? No, not necessarily.
Well,
Okay,
that
cool.
depends on the content creator. Put it like this:
Mhm.
Kevin Samuels stayed yeah, right here. Go ahead and put it right there. You good? Kevin Samuels stayed in his masculine frame, as they say it, the whole time with bringing women on. He never compromised his talking points or anything that he had to say. Everything was pretty much the same. And some people were trying to charge him up with that, and I was like, no, you're not watching. Kevin Samuels is staying 100% completely red pill and speaking the talking points that he's always been talking. And so if like I was more or less saying, that if the individuals who have the skill set and or the desire to do that and want to do a show or shows that are I don't even want to say geared towards women, but it goes back to what I said about that riding a unicycle across a tightrope, where you're talking to women, giving advice to women while simultaneously advocating for men. That is a difficult task, but Kevin Samuels has the skill set and the ability to adequately pull that off, and he's doing well at it. There are there are some, yeah, but I don't want to even get into it and name names, but I've seen messages get watered down. I've seen people change. I've seen people flip flop. I've seen that, and and when that happens, then it's like we're going to lose the manosphere. But Edward Anderson made a really good point. He said for those who he made a point similar to what I said, but he almost said the core or the whole of the manosphere probably shouldn't do that. But those individuals who are kind of in that lane or currently operate in a way to where they could pull that off, they should definitely pursue it. They should definitely pursue it. So it was a good conversation. It was all over the place. It was a little choppy, a little messy at times, and I was like, "What is going on here?" But overall, you know, it was an interesting discussion nonetheless. And you're muted. Mute.
I'm muted, sorry. So I definitely enjoyed the conversation, okay? And I think that, to reiterate the point, okay, you should always strategize about your business about how to take more territory, whether it's military campaign or a political campaign, or you should never take things for granted. You should never say, oh, I got this, therefore I should not build from there. It never works. You're always going to get wiped out. That's how it always, I mean, you get wiped out eventually, no matter what. Everything is a castle made, built of sand at the end of the day. But you want to stay long.
What do you think about the notion that the manosphere as a collective group needs to do that versus just?
I never assumed that. Again, it's just like, I never think that. Like, it's almost like, number one, it's impossible. Okay, nothing ever works that happens that way. Like, even like, I don't even have to worry about it. So I never assume it. My personality is not such. And number three, it never happens. Nothing ever happens where it's like, oh, everybody should. So that whole pushback that people have where it's like, are you saying we should all? It's like, no, you're not going to do it anyway. So why are you talking? You know what I mean? Like, somebody comes and says, well, it's like, dude, no, if you're not going to do it, don't do it. There's no point you coming saying, are you telling me to do? It's like, if you don't want to wear a suit, you're not going to wear a suit anyway. So stop complaining about stuff. Even if somebody comes and says, I think we should all wear suits. If you're not going to wear a suit, don't come up and say, why are you telling me to wear a suit? It's like, dude,
fair enough.
Do you? So, however, I think that, yes, you should always strategize to take, and the strategy helps sharpen you, helps refine the message. Like, okay, because some of the things that you will do in an attempt to capture, let's say in this particular case, more of the female audience, will improve, or might improve your content overall. Might help you capture more male audience. Might, all those kinds of things. Whenever you put a problem in front of you to try to solve, and here's the thing that people do. It's like, it's almost like I tell you to walk over there to the store and it's a gravel road, right? It's filled with pebbles. And rather than speak about the worthwhileness of going to the store or not, they want to talk about every pebble on the road that could possibly hit your toe. Like, well, what about if you water down your message? Well, what kind of female content creator you gonna go with? What kind? It's like they just bring, as they say, a problem for every solution.
Right. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. That was an interesting conversation. And I think you put the right point on it. Not for everybody to do, and obviously it's not for everybody to do. Obsidian does speak in a way as where it does seem as if he's been ranting and raving ever since Kevin Samuels started blowing up. He was like, "Get in line, fall in line."
I think he does that on purpose. Do you agree with me there?
Yes, he's just fucking with us.
Yeah. You know what he does, and that's why he speaks in half sentences too. Like he'll just kind of say part, like he's like, "Well, I'm just asking questions," you know. But he's good at it works. I get it.
That's what I was getting frustrated. I'm like, no, you're trying to lead an army. I'm just asking a question.
It makes for good radio, good content. Makes for an elongated conversation.
It makes my head hurt though. you don't gotta stand. You don't gotta stand in there for 6 hours with them.
Yeah, that's the old man. That's you know.
I was just like, oh shit. Because somebody had said Obsidian asked a question, Bernard asked a question, Obsidian I don't know what the word was that Obsidian does at the third step, and then re-asked the same question again. Wash, rinse, and repeat. It's like that happened for 2 hours. I was like, ah.
I think I'm judging from afar, right? But I think he's quite systematic with that whole thing that he does.
Yeah.
Because it repeats so often, and it's I think that he kind of does that. Doesn't say where he's going. I'm sure you've even pointed it out on air before that you're like, hey, I know Obsidian, I know you're trying to go somewhere with this, but you're asking like he does. He calls it the Socratic method, right? Yeah. Like Socrates, just go around asking people questions. It's like what are you getting at, Socrates? Well, I'm just asking questions. But obviously there's a method to it. It is a method. Yeah. It works for radio. It's good stuff.
All right, man. Let's get into it. Just wanted to do a little brief recap of that stream. It's on my Patreon. But excuse me. All right, getting into it. This is an important topic, and we touched on it on the last show. We're going to get more deeper into it right now. The concept, actually, it was Kevin Samuels who put the emphasis in my head. This was over a year ago, about how a lot of Black businesses, they're solopreneurs. There's a lack of vertical businesses, and there's actually some data that shows that. It is some very disheartening data. I don't have it right in front of me, but the whole concept of the solopreneur, the person of which I'm one of them, by the way, that so many businesses start there and they don't go from being the solopreneur to being that entrepreneur with the vertical business. And you have an interesting, well, this is sort of backing up. You almost have like an interesting way to explain it, and I almost don't exactly understand it. So I do want you to lay out, what do you mean by,
I don't understand it either.
Okay, well, we're gonna get into it. you're gonna have to understand it right now.
Yeah, we're gonna try to understand it together.
Yeah, but no, the question that you asked on Red Stings and Blues, what is more important, the tank or the pipeline? So right now, I guess let us explain. This is the part you got to understand, because you invented the term, as far as I'm concerned. What does that mean? What's more important, the tank or the pipeline?
Really, it's about what's more important, the reservoir or the flow. You're like, what the hell, dude? You just repeated the tank or the I know, but you got to kind of try to create different images, right? So this is a very high level abstraction. I mean, like it kind of covers and cuts across many different planes in terms of, is it more important to be the country that produces the oil, right? And the country that's consuming the oil on this end, or is it more important to control the means of transportation? Now, the question that this addresses is not necessarily why people don't go to expanding, because I'll connect it to the expansion, because the expansion, if I were to make the analogy now clear, becoming a vertical business is more like working on the pipeline rather than hogging the tank, sticking to the tank. And we'll make it explicit. We got a couple hours to kind of chop it up bit by bit, but I'm going to paint a couple of different pictures, right? I say it's more important, or it's very valuable, and it takes less energy. Okay, just like creating a vertical business actually frees up your time, and you don't have to be so involved to control that pipeline. It's more important and takes less energy to be the in-between guy that takes the money between two people having a transaction, aka the bank, and you just collect fees, right? So the idea is basically similar. It is an idea of, do you control the flow of something, or is it about a stack of something that matters, right? Is it cash, or is it cash flow that matters? Again, as I said, it's a very high level abstraction that cuts across very many different areas. So it takes different shapes as it cuts across these different areas. How is it clear that it's the same thing to talk about cash versus cash flow, and the same thing to talk about, controlling the Suez Canal or the Straits of Hormuz and so on and so forth, versus being the person that produces the oil, right? But these things all they build on each other, and they're all related to each other, okay? So that is the overarching thing, and I think that it is related directly to this topic, because in this particular analogy of business, okay, the reason why people don't want to go ahead and look at the expanding the business is because they're focused on the tank. They're focused on what they can keep, what they can stack, because expanding a business involves something impersonal. You're controlling a flow. You're not necessarily keeping it all. Here's what I mean, and we'll get into it bit by bit. You are building a business. You're now getting employees. You have better insurance. You have a good accountant. You're paying more money. You have more overhead. So you're getting money from your client, and you're distributing it to your employees, to your accountant, to your insurance agent, to all this overhead stuff. And you're not keeping it all, right? So like, you're controlling the pipeline, but you're not you're not focusing on the tank. You're like, I want to expand the pipeline. I want more clients, even though I'm just going to take the extra money and use it to pay for computers, pay for insurance, pay for software, pay for employees. And people think, well, why would I want to do that? And I'm trying to use this analogy of, hey, that the flow is really what's important, and we're going to take it bit by bit. But I think that the first thing let me ask you this question, Bernard. I think this is the first question. I sent you this question, which is it more important, okay? Or what would you rather do? Or let's ask even the chat. Anyone feel free to chime in here. Aaron B, what would you rather do? Would you rather keep 100% of $120,000 a year business, right? Solopreneur. You're making $120,000 a year, and you keep $120,000 a year. Or would you rather build a business, get employees, get insurance, get all that kind of stuff, get overhead, and then still keep $120,000 of a $220,000 business? What would you rather do? Would you rather be the solo guy, keep your $120,000 to yourself? Or would you rather expand, make $220,000, but you're still keeping $120,000? The key aspect here is that they both make the same money. You're both keeping the same money. In other words, your tank is the same, right? But one has a bigger pipeline. One has a pipeline of $10,000 a month coming in, right? That's your $120,000 a year. You're keeping it. You're keeping it all. The other guy has a bigger pipeline, but is still keeping the same amount of money. And we find, and this defines this whole problem here, we find that people would rather keep the $120,000 and not expand the pipeline. They make 120, they keep 120. And we're going to get into why that is, okay? Now, let me ask you, Bernard, What is your answer? I think Aaron B said that he'll go for the second option. He'd rather expand the pipeline, even though he's still keeping, even though his tank size is the same, but he wants to be able to control the flow. What would you say is the answer to that question? And perhaps what will be a reason for your answer?
Well, I heard this exact debate being had. I hate going back to when I sold cars, but I heard a very similar debate being had. The sales manager, he was of the view that no, this was actually the general manager. There's a general manager and a sales manager. The general manager was of the view that he would rather make a $4,000 profit off of one car. The sales manager was saying, I would rather make a $1,000 profit off 4 cars. So you can see that how it's very similar to what you're saying here. How one of them was looking in terms of, hey, I want to shake more hands with more customers. I want more of the salesmen actually closing deals and getting sales. I want more people driving off the lot with our cars. I want more people saying, "Oh, where did you get your car from?" I got it from Buck Rogers Auto, just made up a name, but so that's what he wanted. He wanted more exchange of money, more exchange of handshakes, more exchange of deals getting done. And the sales manager, the general manager, was only looking in terms of how much he's selling each individual car for. So in his mind, he felt like if we do our job right, we could sell the same 4 cars with a $4,000 profit each on each car. But the sales manager was
like, no,
that's not possible. People want a deal, so if we gotta lower prices, make the same amount of money that we would make anyway that day, but get more deals done. So I'm of the view that it's better to close more deals if you're going to make the same amount of money anyway. Better to make less money off each deal, but close 4 deals. The challenge with that when it comes to the going from solopreneur to vertical business is how I don't know. We talked about that on the last show, but it's still difficult because I think a lot of people. Well, first, I think you have to legitimately get to that point where, like the analogy that you gave, would you rather make the $120,000 this way, or would you rather make it that way? I think you first have to get to that point of making the $120,000. Then, and well, that may be the reason why so few people get to the point where, okay, I'm making $120,000 a year. How much of this can I set aside and invest in bringing in an employee? And after I pay all this money, train an employee, if I got to buy more product for this person to get out and sell, I got to advertise in a different region. I have to do all of these different things. After I do all these different things for 6 months, I'm going to end up right back at the $120,000 profit that I started with. For a lot of business people, they like, oh, that's not worth the hassle. But I think it is. You have to get a mindset that it is worth the hassle.
So I think that you touch upon many different things here. Number one is that there is a trade-off. In other words, I think it was the sales manager, the general manager was saying, well, why don't we just sell more cars for the maximum profit? It's like, there's a life never works that way.
Right.
With everything in life, there's always a trade-off. And that's why I said, this pipeline versus tank thing, and maybe it's not the best visual, but it cuts across many different areas, okay? Another thing that you brought up there is that it is hard, okay? Number one, it's hard to get there. And then number two, it's hard to make the transition. But let me talk about let me add to the reasons that you gave, okay? That $120,000 a year, let's assume that you've gotten there. You watched me and Bernard's series on how to succeed, and we started out talking about how to start, how it's easy. The main thing is to start. Don't worry about structure, worry about getting a customer, get that certification, do this, do that. You want to be versatile, blah, blah, blah. You're going through all the steps. You're there, okay? It's been a year and a half. You got the electrician job certification, and you're pulling in from your residential clients $120,000 a year, okay? Now, 100% of the business is dependent on you. Your time is completely tied up in that business, right? So the biggest reason why, especially for the solopreneur, why it's worth it for you, because people don't understand the value of the time. Time, it could be argued, is the only resource there is. Like, because I mean, if you don't have time, if you're gone, right, if you're not here, if you're dead, what's the point? What are we talking about? Right? Time is the only thing. Time is the only thing, because time is life in and of itself, because life is limited, it's bound in time, right? So time is very valuable. People refuse to acknowledge that. They're like, okay, I put in my grind, I work 16-hour days, I bring in this money, I get to keep it all, I'm good. However, if you give away some of it in order to build, you now get your time. So you free up your time by having employees and systems. The company does not completely depend on you.
Time out. Time out. Okay, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I've been picking up a lot of new Patreons, and apparently Biggie Smalls just became a Patreon of mine.
Nice.
Christopher Wallace is a Patreon. So I hated to interrupt you, but I just burst out laughing when it said new $5 Patreon. Meet Christopher Wallace, and that's Biggie Smalls' real name.
Yeah. Does he have a picture? Does he have a picture up?
Yeah,
No.
he does, and
Okay.
at a glance, no, it doesn't look like Biggie. I mean, he's
Not Biggie,
yeah, well, maybe a younger version. But anyway, I interrupted you with a laugh, so I figured I might as well just tell you why I was laughing. But that was funny. Thank you, Christopher Wallace, Notorious B.I.G. just became a Patreon. And while you're talking, well, I got to do it after the show. Got to add to my Patreon list, because it's a lot of people who just became Patreon. So I appreciate each and every one of you. But I got to add to the list after the show, because I don't want to be not listening to you and then ask you a stupid question when you get done talking. So go ahead.
Well, congratulations, Bernard. And on the chat here, someone mentioned another point, which is the scalability. So we understand, okay, that if you now go to that point where you're still making $120,000 a year, but your business revenue, your business pipeline is $220,000 a year, such that 100,000 is given to employees, to better systems, to more computers, more overhead, which you will need in order to scale, or in order to get to that point, that you can be like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and I'm going to put my laptop away. I'll have my phone. That way my manager here, or my one employee that I hired and I've trained up to this point now, who can pretty much handle most things, he can give me a call. I can go away, right? I can go chill, if chilling is what you're going to do with your time. But let's just use that, because that's the typical kind of first way to show people's value for their time is, hey, you could chill, right? Is, hey, this guy could go to Hawaii and chill. But you, Mr. Solopreneur, thinking, hey, I got this pipeline of $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. I don't have to share with anybody. You can't go to Hawaii and chill, right? That part is key. The second part is scalability. I think it was mentioned by somebody in the chat right there, which is that in order to expand, okay, it is necessary to have a system, because it is kind of simple, right? You are limited, okay? You are limited. You cannot, and then you can focus on the things that you're good at. Here's what I mean by that. You now have an employee, okay? You now have some extra time. The fact that you're an entrepreneur means there's some things about starting a business or expanding a business that you are particularly good at, okay? Sometimes it's selling, sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's networking. So guess what? Rather than you now focusing on selling the products, right, individually, doing the transactional part of the business, individually doing all the designs in the engineering company, individually doing all the wiring in every job of your electrician company, right? You're out there selling, right? Because in order to start the business, you have had to be a better salesperson than the typical electrician. That's just kind of how the entrepreneurship game works, right? You're a little bit more creative. You're better at marketing. You're better at kind of putting your imprint out there. After all, you force yourself into the market somehow, so you can be the one to force yourself to expand the market. So if you do not hire people, how can you now focus on this other thing, and how can you scale? The other thing about scaling is this: once you have the system, you have the employees, you have the sets of procedures and practices by which things get done in the company, you have the overhead and so on and so forth. You could at some point just use the multiply sign, right? You just like scale it. Like, okay, It takes this many employees at this, it takes this long to train them. It takes this much, this, that, and the other to get this much money in. Okay, I get the machine finely tuned, and I'm doing my selling thing now because I have time on the side. Boom, times 3, times 4. When things hit, right? When boom, you get that big contract because you've joined that particular association of electricians because you got time now. You're traveling and you're shaking hands and slapping backs, joining associations, going, getting interviewed on obscure networks in, corners of Mississippi somewhere, blah, 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 blah. That when the opportunity comes, boom, you have a system to multiply it. But even if an opportunity falls out of the sky for the solo guy, how is he going to quickly multiply? He doesn't have a system to multiply. He can't multiply himself. But you can always multiply. You can be like, all right, I need 5 more computers and 2 more employees. You already know the system for computers and employees, how they work together, how they scale in your company, because you've already done that. Because you already said, hey, it is better for me to increase the pipeline. Because people forget what that extra money in the pipeline does for you, even if you're not keeping it. It gives you ability to make moves, gives you ability to do things. And it's a necessary step in order to exponentially expand. The solopreneur, in other words, what I'm saying is this. It is possible now for that guy who made that decision to say, hey, I'm still going to be making $120,000 a year, but I rather have a $220,000 worth of flow rather than just $120,000 worth of flow, and I'm a solo guy. Because it's a necessary step in order for me to get to the point where, boom, now I'm $1 million a year and I'm keeping like 400 grand of it, right? The solo guy can never get there on his own unless he just finds a very niche market where he can just increase his prices by like 10 times or something, that kind of a thing, which sometimes can happen, but it's rare, especially if there's competition. You can't just be charging people exorbitant amounts. So the multiplication factor is key. You cannot multiply yourself, but you can multiply employees. You cannot multiply yourself, but you can multiply computers and overhead and all that kind of stuff. And in order to be in the position where you can multiply, you first of all have had to set up, gone through all the growing pains, the training, the system building, and so on and so forth. In other words, it's not like, oh, well, yeah, I get it. I can multiply employees. So when it gets to that point, when I get this golden opportunity that falls on my lap, I'll just multiply. I'll just hire people. That's not going to work. I'm going through that right as I mentioned before, in terms of expanding. And I've recently, again, mentioned before, got employees outside the United States, right? So there is a whole growing pain to this where you're training people, you're figuring out how to communicate certain things, you're taking things outside of your head, putting them into a checklist so that you can tell somebody how you do stuff, which can be annoying, right? You're like, I could just do it. I could just do this myself. It's like, no, don't do it yourself. Stop, teach the person. Stop, correct the person. Don't correct their mistakes. Help them, teach them how to correct the mistakes. Teach them the right procedures. It's painful. It's hard, okay? But once you have that system down, now you're going to be like, okay, this is how you teach this particular type of person, this particular set of procedures. This is the best way, it seems, to get these things done. It takes at least 6 months. If you're going to start bringing people, it takes at least 6 months, okay, to go through that training. How does the system work? What are the best procedures and so on and so forth? How do I build this all? And then once you have that set, then you're ready to multiply it. You're ready to scale, if you will, once the opportunity arises. The solo guy that thinks he's just going to scale when the time comes, no, he doesn't have that 6 months, but you got to spend that 6 months. So again, time, 100% key, which again, I'm saying is the only resource in a certain way. Time is the only resource, and you free up your time to do whatever you want to do. Plus, you could do the things that you're particularly good at in this company, and it is the only way to scale, right? So those are some of the advantages.
Yeah, you got me thinking. And you know what? This is something that I thought about before, but I put it on the back burner. But I'm rethinking some things because, like, the last the the last show that we did when I was talking about my business, and I ended up taking that one down. There was some troll that was talking crap about it, and I took it down. I made it private. But either way, either way, I did that for my reasons. I wanted to keep your name out of out of the mouth of this horrible person. Put it like that. Yeah, I didn't want. Yeah, but anyway, no, yeah, you don't want to get entangled with those with them people over there. But anyway, taboo smash. Thanks for the super chat. Before I read that, I do want to point out that this has me thinking. Sometimes a lot of these talks that we have, it do have me thinking. It has made a thought come back in my head before I started that business, the hair business, where I, having an office, so to speak, bought a stock, a bulk amount of hair, sell it out of my office, advertise on Facebook Marketplace, and that's how I source customers, and then they come to the office and make the sale and so forth and so on. I was just sitting here thinking, well, I was thinking I wasn't going to scale it into the point of having employees, so I just have a full blown standard storefront, full blown store. That's what I was thinking. I had to have employees, but something was said in this conversation to where I'm already thinking I'm having like a beard stroking moment. The amount of money that it took for me to set up my office, like I explained in the last show, it really wasn't that much. Couldn't I set up a different office somewhere else and have somebody else in there doing the same thing that I'm doing? And that somebody else, maybe because I'm not a great salesman. Yeah, I got to own that one, even though I'm working. I work on it, but I could possibly have somebody in there. I could set somebody up in the office doing the same thing. And even if at the end of the day, what that person would have to be paid, getting, I don't know, commission off sales, even if I broke even, there's more flow. Set up another office, even if I break even, there's more flow. Do you see where it's going? It's about setting up the flow. So whatever I'm making right now, I may set up all those different. I'll basically be creating a system that's going to be able to run without me. You see, and so that's a way that could possibly work. That I thought about that early on, but I guess I had in my head that I got to make a certain dollar amount and then know that what's the dollar amount increase going to be if I bring somebody else in. And I was thinking like that, but now that you're just talking about flow, just get more flow. There it is. He's burning his house down. What did I tell ya? Ike, you okay? I'm gonna read the super chat while we wait for Ike to you got to get rid of that candle, that whatever that is.
I'm all right. It's the third time will be the charm.
No, it's not. It's time to cut and run, Ike. Time to cut and run. Taboo smash. He says, I think the hardest part of entrepreneurship is to find the right people to do the job and not screw you over like what happened to Steve Jobs. Ike, we're gonna talk about that. So you got okay. So now you don't got the fire burning behind you. Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Shout out to Utopia, sent a $10 cash app. Appreciate that, Utopia. Okay, so I don't even know where to go. Did you hear what I was saying about the
100%
increasing the flow? I was thinking in terms of money. Don't think about money, think about the flow. Even if whatever I'm making, let's just say right now, I'm not even gonna throw a number out there because then people are gonna repeat the number. But let's just say I'm making X amount of dollars. Let's just say I set up like sort of like what I was explaining, setting up a different office, even if it's in a different region somewhere. And even if in doing so, the money that it takes to do that, plus what the employee is being paid, puts me at a point where I'm making that same X amount of dollars. Do it again somewhere else. I'm still making the same X amount of dollars. Do it again somewhere else. Still making the same X amount of dollars. That puts me in a position to where if this thing grows to where all three of those different locations that are fairly easy to set up and probably fairly easy to get them to ultimately just pay for themselves and break even,
Okay.
then if it gets to the point to where all of those locations can I don't know, receive or start making maybe 10% more than what they originally were, well, where's that 10% going? Well, it's gonna go to me. You know, there's some nuance to it, but at the end of the day, if if all of them, what it costs to run them and what it costs to pay the person was breaking even, and then even after a year's time they all start making more, yeah, that's profit that's going to go to the owner, you see. And now I'm in a point to where that 10% profit from each of those locations could very well be more or double what I was making from the location where I was the one there doing all the work. So you see how it could easily turn into a possibility where, wait a minute, now I'm making the same thing, or now I'm making more, and I really don't have to work. In fact, I can have somebody, the office that I'm running, somebody could run that one, and I could just step back and just manage all the different offices. You see?
See, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've thought about this before, right? And you probably like, maybe you don't want to do it, but maybe now you're just revisiting the thought.
Well, yeah, I thought about it before, but I only thought about it in terms of I need to be able to make X amount of dollars, and
You
I
were thinking
need
of the
to.
tank.
Yes, I need to be able to make X amount of dollars, and once I know I can make X amount of dollars, then the cost that it would take to get something else set up and the overall profit that will be gained from this other office, this other location, the profit would have to be this or that. I wasn't just thinking about the flow. Yeah. So I was tank headed, tank minded with this thing. You got me flow. You got me thinking flow right now. Don't worry about money. Worry about flow. Worry about
Yeah. So, and we will before we kind of move on here. There are a couple of things that came up, which is like the employee thing. I think the one of the $5 super chats. Yeah.
Queen Q. Well, oh no, she's super
Queen
chat.
Q also said something. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Queen Q. Says, I'm hiring for my store and I hate it. What kind of store do you have? I forgot. I think you said it before. What kind of store do you have? She said, too many people using anxiety and depression as a crutch. Uh-oh. They are unproductive and have no goals or drive.
Thank you, Queen Q. Welcome to the realization that you are a special person when it comes to if you have. Here's something about okay. If you start a business, okay, you got to realize how far from the general population you already are, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes, unless you're some kind of crazy sociopath, we tend to think that people are generally kind of the same. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit above average or whatever, but people generally have the same kind of struggles. I don't like to wake up in the morning and work, and I know other people don't like to wake up in the morning as well as work as well. However, you're going to quickly realize once you get that business going, you're the hustler, you're the grinder, you're getting things done. When you try to bring people in, you're going to realize, God damn, it is rare to find people that are willing to do half the work that I do. Right now, the key here, I think Aaron B mentioned it, is don't bring people in quickly, but get rid of them quickly, though. Like, in other words, if you start seeing certain kinds of things, certain kinds of patterns, and you're going to get better and better at noticing these patterns, cut it off quick, because it's not only going to sink you, it's going to be a bad influence to any other person around the business, especially your customers. You don't want to expose your customers to these depression having, lazy, unproductive excuse. No, you don't want that vibe anywhere near your business, because trust me, you could have this massive building, okay, downtown New York, whatever, Manhattan, nice big doors and everything. You walk in like you're feeling good about this business, that you're walking into the business and it's a big nice bank or whatever it may be. But then you meet this receptionist or the security guard, and they're just they're just I'm a sociopath. They're just that's it. I think that's a good topic one day for us to discuss psychopath and sociopath, how it's kind of misunderstood. They say, a lot of CEOs are social. Like, look, I'm sure at some point, if you look at me from a certain perspective, you call me a psychopath, right? Because there's something about being hyper productive, hyper focused, not giving a crap about certain things which we think don't matter, and so on and so forth. That a certain other kind of people want to be like, oh, you're a psychopath. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Who cares what you think, anyways? But you walk into that office building, everything looks nice, but one person, the receptionist, completely can make you be like, you know what? F that business. It could be somebody who picked up the call, your phone, right? You call this business, and Becky is having a horrible day and wants to punish you for it. And all of a sudden, this entire multi-million-dollar business, you're like, F that whole thing. I'm never using them again. So again, that's why you want to get.
I hate when people do that, by the way. They say, I'm never going to go shop at Rite Aid again because this minimum wage clerk was rude to me. That has nothing to do with the intricacies and the runnings of that company. Now, if it was a supervisor, like if it was the head manager, the head store manager that was a complete jackass to you, I could almost understand that, because that's as high up as it get as far as that individual location is concerned. I can almost understand that. But if the minimum wage employee working at the register had an attitude, and I don't go to Outback Steakhouse anymore because the greeter was in. Come on.
Let me. The example you gave is a good example, because generally speaking, you're talking about products. You're gonna go buy stuff. Who cares? Whatever. It could be a self-checkout. It's just a robot, anyways. It doesn't matter if
yes.
But when it's a service industry, when it's a service thing, if it's like a service, especially that a service that's important to your business, where when I call this service provider of mine that make sure my internet is running right, make sure my IT works right, and I'm getting a bunch of attitude, no.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Greeters and servers should be nice, and in the event that they're not nice, they should be fired. So that definitely. But if it's something that a robot can do, but you're going to take it out on the company as a whole, because the human robot doing a job that you could almost train a monkey to do wasn't kind to you, then that's going too far for me. Shout out to Red Sings and Blues in the building with the super chat. Appreciate ya. Where's the fire, Ike? Shout out to the guys. Great panel last night. We're going to do it again. We absolutely going to do it again in Red Sings and Blues. You are late, but if you rewind the tape, there's a moment where you're going to see, you're going to see Ike's avatar come up, and then once the avatar is up, you're going to see you're going to hear the boop boop boop.
Yeah.
Boop. Yeah. He made a smoke detector go off again. He's he has the same problem he had last night. He didn't.
I'm an engineer by when you don't give up. You're gonna try to get. There's something I'm doing, as you may imagine.
Yeah, you're starting a damn fire. That's what.
Good one.
That's what you're doing.
There's a thing I'm not gonna do that anymore. It's like, okay, I just leave the fire the way it is. I'm trying to do this other kind of fancy thing, and each time I try it, the thing goes off. But no problem. Let me continue on this employee line, and then we can move on. Okay. So
Queen Q, hold on, Queen Q. I want to get you on the show for not today, but sometime about your business. Because what we talk about here is business, and we do business shows is something I'm just spitballing, highlight a particular business or talk about the business, the odds and ends and intricacies of the business. So even if you can, possibly go live from your business, and we can chop it up and talk about business. You could talk about all the problems you're having right now, being a person of African American descent trying to run a business. And yeah, that'll put an interesting spin on what we do here when we're talking about business and building and all of that. Have people who are on the ground doing it. And she says, okay, that's fine with me. All right, so we're tentatively gonna do that next week. I'm gonna have Queen Q on. and going to talk about her business. That's going to be cool. That's going to be cool. So we'll get it worked out. We'll get it worked out. My email is in the about section. So email me and we'll talk and we'll get that worked out. All right. I cut you off, Ike, I think. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
There was another super chat. I don't know if you wanted to catch it. I think somebody said £70.
Somebody
K Polymath. Yeah.
Somebody sent some pounds. K Polymath, just get a desiccator.
You see, he's probably an engineer too. Because like, what's the solution? What's the solution? That's I never just bow down to a problem. I'm gonna go find out what a desiccator is. It's gonna solve my problem. I'm gonna be able to make massive fires in here without setting up the smoke. Because the other solution, obviously, is just take out that damn smoke detector. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm not putting some fumes in here. Okay, so continuing with the whole employee thing, I think that number one, you want to get rid of them quickly. You don't want the vibes to affect your other employees and affect other people. And number two, that personality is 100% key. After you immediately realize that you are a rare breed for starting a business and that people are not like you, so you're going to need to have patience with them. However, you need to bring in the best possible of the herd, if you will. But personality is a big aspect of things. And there is someone who wants to start an HR business or a general business in general that takes personalities into consideration. You know that thing I always talk about, when I say, you're probably extroverted, sensor, blah, blah, blah. I'm an introverted, into blah. Those things matter 100% in the sense that you as an employee should know, because there's certain things that you have to tell. Let's just take a sensor versus an intuitive, right? An intuitive, you don't have to kind of repeat things too often. You can kind of like give intuitive, like here's the beginning and here's the end. And no matter how things happen in between, no matter how many pieces of gravel are on the road, as I said earlier, more pieces of pebbles, intuitive is gonna be like, I know I'm gonna get to the end. I know I'm gonna just pivot and move. They have like this kind of, okay, that's my North Star. I'm gonna go there. Sensor needs more of a like, okay, steps, structure, right? Because of the way they operate. As I mentioned before, they're more like they need many, many, many examples, many experiments, and then they build a model, right? So you need to be able to understand it. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to become a master of human psychology in order to just be an employer. But no matter how basic your understanding of human differences are psychologically, it comes in handy when you're hiring people. People are different. So the kind of person that you make a manager versus the kind of person who's going to be great at just entering that data and executing the work, these are two different kinds of people. Someone like me, for example, more an intuitive type. I don't want to be, doing grunt work, right? I can, but if you use me for your grunt work, if you hire me and use me for grunt work, you're missing out, right? You're missing out. That's not what you want me to do. You want me to do certain other kinds of things, like come up with creative solutions, manage people, solve problems you've never seen before. Like throw me into the fire, like put me right, go deal with that customer and his problems. That's what you use someone like me for, not put him in the back office and have him just go through the processes and so on and so forth. So the employee thing could be a whole stream of its own. But I just wanted to mention that real quick. And then I think that someone else said, let me see, I can't even read my own. The motivation aspect, and I think I'm going to mention this, have you read the super chats, and then we'll continue.
Well,
perhaps
go ahead. Yeah, I was just about to say, hold your thought on that, because we have to acknowledge someone who's slowly becoming the Manosphere mascot over here. Snuggles is in the building. Shout out to Snuggles. She says, everybody, is it me or does it look different? By the way, I don't see the fire anymore. Yes, Ike almost killed himself, and now the fire is out, and he's alive, well, and healthy, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Snuggle, Snuggly Softness. That's really less expensive.
Yes.
Do I look, because he's like, Ike looks different? Is it I have my my collection of hats that I usually wear, white, blue, red, green, whatever. But I'm like, okay, I shaved the head off, because basically, let me give you a little bit of inside, give the audience a little bit of inside, whatever, right? Coronavirus, you stay home and all that kind of stuff. Like, I just let my hair go, right? It's been growing, it's been going crazy wild, and that's why I've been wearing the hats for like a month and a half now. But I got a haircut, And yeah, so now I took the hat off. So that's the reason.
You normally rock a baldy. You never grow hair ever, really, or you normally keep it shaved off?
I normally keep it shaved off. And it's not very much shaved because you think my hair is just like almost the same color. My beard is actually darker, right? My hair and my eyebrows is almost the same color as my skin. So it's almost like I don't have eyebrows or I don't have hair. But
Yeah,
there's a bald fade that I have right now.
I've always been confused about that because it always looked like that. Yeah, okay. I'm glad you cleared that up, because sometimes it looked like you got hair, but then it looked like you don't got hair. But is that just blonde hair on really, really light skin? I couldn't tell. Wasn't going to ask, but yeah, okay, fine, okay. Albino problems, I guess.
Albino problems.
That's the thing. You need to hashtag that. Okay. K polymath desiccator just draws the fumes away from the detector. He probably solved your problem there. Shout out to him.
These last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
And Jonathan Barronville is asking a really important question that we all want to know: does Ike have a soul?
No, I don't think so. I think souls are for simps.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right.
You were talking about I wanted to mention something before we kind of
go ahead.
Yeah. Before we move on here with this whole pipeline versus tank idea, right? Which I think, you're seeing in your business and all that kind of stuff. I want to talk about the changes that happen with you when you decide to open that other store. People say things like, hey, and you have kids, so you know this perhaps firsthand. And when you have a family, your responsibility gear moves to a different level. Is it right or wrong? In terms of you're motivated. You can't be fucking up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Even though I got married young, so it's like I can never remember not having that responsibility. I don't have the story of, man, from 18 to 29, I was living this kind of life. And I got married at 19, so I've always, been boring. So there's that.
So for those of us who, anyways, it is said generally that this does happen. And one can imagine why that is, being responsible for people. Once you become responsible for other people, and this is true of a business, this is true with my business as well. I no longer now think about, am I going to go do something in order to keep my, $10,000 a month coming in, or whatever it may be, $20,000 a month, $30,000,
30,000, 40,000,
100,000, whatever.
100,000. Who's counting?
Who's counting? It was a few $100,000 amongst friends, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is, now I'm thinking about the business, like the pipeline, the employees, and all that kind of stuff. It adds this extra level of motivation where it's like, and motivation is a funny thing, because just imagine, I don't want to move, but then boom, there's a tiger over there. All of a sudden, moving is like, you can't do anything but move. If flight was going to be, if you don't freeze, right? But motivation can really, really, in other words, before you have the motivation, it's hard to imagine having the move, right? But once the motivation is there, the frame completely changes. That whole framing thing, right? Now the tiger is there, the frame has changed. Like, all that laziness is out the window. Same thing with, if you were to open that other store, Bernard, and you got that other employee, your mindset will you're going to be like, I got to keep that store supplied. I got to make sure that guy gets paid. Blah, 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 blah. Now it becomes about that pipe. Okay. And we already know why the pipe is good for you, because the pipe is how you can make extra moves. It's not about how much of that pipe you get to keep. It gives you extra room to make moves. Right. So I want to just talk about the motivation and also on the employee thing. But I think that the first question which you asked, like, is it better to keep that $120,000 to yourself, and you're a solo guy, you have a revenue of $120,000 and you keep $120,000? Or do you make 220 by hiring employees, getting systems, getting overhead, and you only keep 120? I think that the answer clearly is the second option. Okay. But it takes work to get there. Right. And it's not so easy. So I don't know, we can move on with this conversation here.
K Polymath says, Bernard, you should hire some women, set up a second channel, get us to sub, then do a co-host with, then analyzing things more from a neutral perspective.
With them, I think he's talking about the women. Yeah.
Do things with them, analyzing things from a more neutral perspective.
That goes to that old man conversation, I guess, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, BGS did do a BGS for women channel.
Yeah, that sounds lame. I'm sorry.
It sounds.
Shout out to BGS.
Another thing about it does sound lame, but it was pretty cool. What he was doing was very similar to what Kevin Samuels does, but he was doing it he would just open his panel up to roughly 3 or 4 women that lurk the Manosphere would come up, and he'd have some real good conversations with them. And but so it was a cool channel. It was a cool channel, but Kevin Samuels definitely took it to a whole another level. But I don't know if I would I don't know if I would need to set up a second channel for that. I actually did a test run when I did an interview with the woman Ches Charday. That was just like my little trial run of let me just interview a woman that I think none of you have ever heard of before, and just chop it up, have a conversation with her, and just watch the views, watch the engagement, watch the super chat, watch the reaction, and everything was great. Everything was great. So no, guys in this space, they don't have a shout out to Zero. They don't mind men having conversations with women in this space, long as the man, as Zero says, stays in his man body the whole time. If you can stay in your man body and have conversations with women, then the guys in this space, they don't mind it. They actually like it. They actually prefer it. The success of Kevin Samuels and the Fresh and Fit podcast is strong evidence of that. So so there's the thing. It's just I don't think the Manosphere needs to make a strong push to do that. That's what I disagree with. However, those that want to do it and have the desire and the skill set to do it should definitely explore it. But anyway, that's me revisiting the Obsidian, still trying to work off the headache from talking to Obsidian for 6 hours.
I didn't say that, Bernard. I'm just asking questions. I didn't say that.
Oh man, Obsidian is just classic, man. I can't. Oh my goodness, I'm still exhausted. I just slept all last night. I need another nap. But anyway. All right. Where were we? Oh yeah, I was reading that super chat. Thank you, K Polymath. But no, I don't think I need to set up a whole nother channel just to do that. I mean, I could incorporate aspects of what you're talking about into this channel, and I don't need to do it from a neutral perspective just for the same reason that Kevin Samuels is not neutral. He's advocating for men, but I don't know if my whole show will be exclusively I don't know if I'll do. I don't know. Well, this show for sure, and I think that's probably why you said set up a different channel, because this show for sure would never just be exclusively about conversations with women. So maybe that's why you're suggesting that perhaps set up a different channel for it. But I would rather just incorporate it in here periodically if I'm going to be having conversations with women, and just do a little bit of every. Oh, she almost knocked that down. Just do a little bit of everything on the same channel, as long as it falls within the framework of what I like, what I want to talk about, and just the overall vision. So I don't know, but yeah, something to think about. Thanks for that super chat, and thanks for this other super chat here. Women spend 75% of the total economy. Clubs bring them for free. So clubs bring them in for free. So dudes pay. Kevin Samuels model, or we let them here, they pay. No, I hear what you're saying. And that was one of the better points that old man made in that stream. You get if it's men that you want here, you want to talk to men, you want to reach men, you get the women, you get the men. Bring in the women, and then the men will come. So that was a I mean, that's happening at Kevin Samuels, because you watch his chat room, you see more men post typing in his chat than women, and obviously the men are the ones super chatting. Yep. The men are there. And largely in part because, well, the women aren't there. So that was definitely one of his better points. So Shout out to you. Appreciate it. Even though this is more than $5, but you mean simps, not men. What do you mean, Aaron B? A man is a simp if he likes.
He goes to Kevin Samuel like. Well, let me ask you this, Bernard, because it's something I don't understand, and I'm shot fired. ADOS community. There's something about how you can't support another man. Any man that gives another man money, any man that stands up for another man. I'm sure you know what I'm saying, right? That somehow it's kind of looked at as down, like, no, you don't. How are you giving another man money? Huh? And I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, what the? I don't even understand. What is that about?
I haven't heard anybody saying you giving another man money. I haven't heard that one. People do get. I don't know. Maybe you need to give me some examples. But there are people who criticize people who take up for Kevin Samuels, and perhaps Kevin Samuels does have some irrational defense, some nameless, faceless, irrational defense for people out there. But if somebody is making what I determine to be a sensible argument, like, for example, when somebody says Kevin Samuels made a show for women, it's about women, it's for women, and I say that, well, no, he's actually speaking up for men. If you listen to what he's saying, he's advocating for men. You know, that's not me just being a blind defense force, Kevin Samuels defense force guy. That's me giving an accurate analysis of what I'm hearing when I'm listening to Kevin Samuels. Now, some people are going to take that and then they're going to probably say something in the vein of what you were saying right there, or maybe you've heard some things that I haven't heard, but I don't even think it's an ADOS thing. When somebody, I haven't heard somebody say, "Oh, why are you giving another man money?" I mean,
I hear it on this very panel a lot, and but my ears are just particularly tuned to catching that part of it.
On people who have come up on my panel and have criticized the notion of super chatting another man.
Yeah,
I must have been daydreaming, because
it's usually a big part of a big, that whole kind of like, hey, he's this, he's that, he's got a man purse, and all these other men out here, giving another man money, dropping $500 super chat to another man. And I was like, now, obviously, again, being super chat Jesus, I'm probably more attuned to listening for that particular line.
Okay.
You're probably listening to the overall argument.
Yeah.
But when I hear that part, I'm like, what do they actually mean? Are you not supposed to give a man money? Like, what does that mean? I don't even know. Like, is there some kind of pimp thing going on? Like, if you give a man money, you're a trick, and he's pimping the I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I think it probably could come very well just from hateration. Some people are hating. Put it like this: a lot of people hate on this space because, criticize it as much as you want, there's clearly a network. Excuse me. Clearly a network of men here who enjoy this content and like to support this content with their super chats, whether it's $5 here, $10 there, $20 there, or in some cases $50 to $100, or in some cases, quite often, your case, more than $100 a lot of the times. A network of men have been built that want to fund this operation, and they're doing it. And there's other people who have channels that can get some views, but there isn't a network of men who want to fund it, who want to pay for it, who want to super chat it. So they're just howling at the moon, so to speak, punching the air like Cuba Gooding Jr. and Boys in the Hood. They're not making any money doing it. So some people do get jealous by just the framework of this. Like, I make enough money to live off doing YouTube with 7,000 subs. That's unheard of. So they see stuff like that. They see they see what Ramil is doing, and Ramil's killing it. But sometimes Ramil not even taking this thing serious. And he said that he's made, the number that he threw out there a while ago was like $60,000 a year, and he's not even taking it serious. Sometimes Ramil will take a month off and then just come back and do once a week, and then come back and go hard 6 days a week, and then take more time off, but he still can make, $60K doing this, so it's So some people get mad by that. I believe. I think that's a factor in the equation. That for the framework is being built, an economy was built here, and so we're doing big things. This space, as much as all the criticism, and people say black men don't support other black men. I strongly disagree. When it comes to the Manosphere, the support is overwhelming. You could have 2,000 subs in like I put it like this. I remember when I got monetized in April. So April, after I got monetized in April, didn't make that much money. So in May, my first full month being monetized. This was last year, by the way. Last year, my first month being monetized. Probably I don't even know if I had hit 2,000 subs yet. I made like $2,500 with in 1 month, less than 2,000 subs, and then each month it's been growing, growing since then with some fluctuations as always. But I'm talking too much about my money right now. But all the way back in July of last, I don't want to get into that. But for a very small channel, the amount of money that I made in the month of July of last year, it was enough money to where that I was already sitting there with like 2,000 subs thinking, man, if I made that much money every month, yeah, I can replace a blue collar job easy just off doing YouTube. And then extrapolating it forward, some 8 months after that, or 6 months or so after that, somebody came to me offering a blue collar job working in the trades, and I was able to say no. I was making enough money on YouTube to replace that, plus my other business. Adding all that up, I was like, hey, due to YouTube and the Manosphere, I'm able to say no to the white man offering me a job. I'm self-employed now. Between the two different businesses. Yeah, so so brothers definitely support this space in great numbers, So some people are jealous about that they're not a part of it. They'll rather sit on the outside and hate on it, and that's that. So
got a few more super chats rolling in. Speaking of,
yep. K Polymath, he's calling the men super chatting simps.
I think he's talking about Aaron B, because Aaron B is like, oh, simps though, and then we were talking about it, and I think Aaron B is saying, yeah, people super chatting simps, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. K Polymath in the building with a super sticker. K Polymath in the building with another super sticker.
This guy, what the hell? He's like, he got paid or something.
I heard paying a man money for dating advice bad. Yeah, some people have said that, have criticized men for that. I don't think. I mean, I've never done that, but I've listened to dating advice given by men on YouTube. They got my view and my like, and they gave some information that was a good point. I never thought about that. So if somebody wants to pay for it to get more personal consultation, I don't think nothing is wrong with that at all. But K Polymath, Ike's super chat, Musa, what is that?
I think probably referring to Mansa Musa, or Musa is Moses too, or maybe because super chat Jesus, somebody said in the chat super chat Jehovah, could be super chat Moses in this case, or Mansa Musa, the gold guy that Hoteps like to talk about. Yeah.
These last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
Snuggle668, can you all talk about the quirks that the immigrants have and the ADOS has, so everybody could understand the differences they have? No. No, that is not the topic, Snuggles. You're not going to change the topic again, Snuggles. So cut it out, Snuggles.
Hi, I'm Snuggle. Snuggly softness. That's really less expensive.
Oh. Coming at you.
Yep. K Polymath. Ike, are your employees black, and was it on purpose? Uh-oh.
Dum dum dum. Yeah.
No.
Found the way to bring in. Snuggles was trying to do some racial stuff, but did not know how to connect it to the topic. See, K Polymath brought race stuff and connected it to the topic.
Mm-hmm. He did.
So now, generally speaking, I go for competence, right? By generally speaking, I mean it's always the case, right? Depending on, regardless of where I find the competence in. In other words, I'm not going to say, oh, I'll take a less competent black person because I want to build blah, blah, blah. Or even a Nigerian. As a matter of fact, as a Nigerian, you better damn well be competent, like what the hell? You're making us look bad. So that kind of thing. But yes, my employees are black. What are you gonna say?
I was waiting for you to say that they were albino. I would have died laughing. I was like, "Yeah, you really fist in the air, keeping it in group. You've sought out albino engineers."
Like what was that 0.001 of this? Percent?
I know. That's what I was like, man.
That'll be really crazy. Like
pro
black
albino.
albinos from that's crazy.
But anyway, go ahead.
I do, however, let me say, because after all, maybe this goes to that whole human. Yes, I do have a soul. I am a human being. There is, and therefore that whole in-group preference is present. No matter how much of a introverted, whatever type of person I am. I think we had a conversation in my channel, Bernard, where we say, no matter what, we still have a little bit of that in-group preference. We do have a image, we call is it a ethnic image that we care about, and we tend to want to, whenever possible, give our kind the right of first refusal, right? Hence, and this is why, and this kind of honesty, and I think people who get stuck in that, what I call the warm porridge bowl of, oh, kumbaya and my people and blah blah blah, or hotep, they tend to be blind to what they're doing because they're doing it, but they're like, hey, the white man shouldn't do it. They're doing it and they're like, hey, the Chinese man shouldn't do it. They do it and say, hey, the Indian man shouldn't do it. It's like, no.
I've said it once. If the people who walk around calling themselves pro-black, if they were in position that the white man, as they call it, was in, they would be more racist. They would white people are hiring people of all races. There's no way to get around that. Walk into any company, any business, you more than likely you're going to see some type of rainbow coalition or cast of individuals. In some cases, no, and maybe in a lot of cases, no. But for I would say the majority of cases, if we concede the point that white people or white businesses are making up, as far as business wealth in this country, most of it is owned by people who are white. If we concede that point, we have to acknowledge that these racist white people are willfully hiring people of all races, genders, religious backgrounds, and thinking in some type of egalitarian, everybody equal, all inclusive, we're one race, one species, we are the world, we are the people type of hiring practices. Give the black people who claim to be, even though I consider myself pro-black in that I want black people to progress, I want black men to have power in the whole works and everything, but you give the standard people who talk about being pro-black, put them in position. Oh, they would have white people and possibly all other people out on the streets crawling on their knees if they were the ones in position. They'd be more racist. Hoteps be saying Africa for Africans while in the U.S. Thank you for the super chat. K Polymath, have you $2 super chatted your way to a wrench? Okay, there you go. Yeah,
£2 super chat. Yeah, that's more. Yeah, he's I think he got paid this Friday or something.
Yeah. Thank you, K Polymath. Appreciate you. But yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I do have that preference where it's like, and I think it's key, okay, especially for.
Wait, hold on. I think
Go ahead.
somebody. I don't know if they're disagreeing with me when I said there'll be more racist. So you think if pro blacks owned more stuff, they would have some they would hire based off population percentages, which means their companies would have 70% white employees. Are you serious? If black people were the majority, I mean, I'm not about to walk this one down. We listen. Black people are. I'm not even getting into that. All right, I'm not go. Just go ahead. Go ahead. We're keeping it moving.
Yeah, so just to close that part, I think not only, okay, so I go competence is number one. I don't care blue, green, yellow, whatever. Also, the other thing is this: male versus female. Okay, let me not. Okay, I don't. Especially the male versus, if a competent woman, like, for example, I talked about also not just having employees, but having, like, people that I subcontract stuff to. Because in the engineering world, I don't necessarily need, okay, this thermal pipe stress specialist type engineer to be in my company, because I don't necessarily have that particular kind of project all the time, right? But I can have a kind of a subcontractor relationship with somebody, 1099, if you will, and bring them in. One of my best 1099 persons is a woman, a female engineer. She kicks ass. I don't give a crap. So all that people who come around, oh, misogynist, blah, 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 blah. It's like, when you balance it with the other things that I said, which is, okay, men should lead, women have their blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I don't take crap in my channel from the woman, whatever that kind of stuff is, right? They make the interpretation that, oh, well, this guy, there must be the kind of person that only hires women, not going to let a woman. It's like, I don't care. Okay, she gets ish done. She is my favorite 1099. I need a mechanical engineer for any job. She is number one. Why? She's competent. Okay, so to buttress that whole competence point is number one. I don't have this kind of, oh, it's got to be a man, it's got to be like it. Whatever you are, taking all comers. However, when it comes to the race thing, yes, there is in-group preference, and it is important to notice that, because when you notice that in yourself, acknowledge it, say it out here into the world, into Google, for everybody to hear for all eternity, then it makes it such that you're not going to be pointing fingers at other groups for doing the same thing. Like, come on, like, it's family, right? Be like, well, he should hire you first before he hires his son. It's like, no, let everybody give each and everyone their human dignity. If you have in-group preference, don't deny everyone else in-group preference either. I think, yeah.
Absolutely. We got far upfield with a lot of different things. So I'm trying to circle us back to where we were. We talked about the tank or the pipeline, entrepreneur, solopreneur. I think we talked about why people are afraid.
No, I don't think we've really talked about it.
Oh,
in depth. Yeah.
Okay, so no, if you want to go more in on the why people are afraid. I thought it was, and maybe you could straighten me out on this one. I thought it was just that people felt they had to achieve a certain amount of success, and the thing that they are trying to build, what they're trying to expand with, they're trying to, if whatever they're doing, whatever they're selling, if they're trying to move to just a different region or just a different location, this different location and the money invested in that, plus paying the employee, plus buying whatever products the employee has to sell, and all of that the whole work of doing that has to result in a certain amount of money. And a lot of them are thinking what I was thinking, because I was doing the math on, if I tried to do that with my business, if I tried to do that, I was thinking that I would put all that work, time, effort, and energy and risk into it, and if it goes well, I probably would end up just breaking even, where I got this employee, I got another location, I got all these things going on, and I just broke even with that whole extra location venture. I'm still making money at the home base that I'm working from, but that whole expansion project was just a neutral break even thing. But again, I was thinking about the tank, not the pipeline, not having multiple, funnels, even if they're breaking even. I thought that's what it was, but you seem to think that it's something else, that is a fear
it's
in
more.
doing it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's not just. In other words, you're correct, right? And I think perhaps one thing, because there are a number of things here. The one thing you could just say is it's hard, right? It's not easy.
There you go.
It's not easy to do it,
Yeah.
and that's why people are not going to do what's hard, no matter what kind of excuses they give you, like, oh, I'm good with this right now, and blah 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 blah. It's hard, that's why, and you're uncertain. It's hard, and it's a risk. It's uncertain, so on and so forth. So I think in order to kind of show the difficulty, let's go through the timeline, for example, right? Because you have to go backwards in order to go forwards, and people don't like going backwards. So this guy making $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month, right? He needs to scale. So the first year he starts scaling, what does he do? He hires an employee, okay? And he has to give that employee, now he's keeping that 10,000. Maybe he needs to give the employee, a part-time employee, $2,000 a month. Or hey, maybe super part-time, $1,000 a month. He needs to hire an accountant, and so on and so forth, do certain things. He needs to get better insurance, because, for some reason, maybe the rule is once you have more than 5 clients in this state, you need insurance X, blah, 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 that kind of a thing. There are all these kinds of regulatory frameworks you need to follow, all this kind of overhead type framework. You need computers, you need software, blah, blah, blah. So he's spending money. So he goes from $1,000 a month to $15,000 a month. But guess what? He's only keeping 8 now, okay? Again, before he gets in this building process, as you can imagine, you need to give up more to begin with, keep less. You're making $15,000 a month in revenue now, but now you're only keeping 8. You were keeping 10 before. You were keeping $10,000 a month before. And like, why would I want to build this pipeline again, increase the pipeline, increase the flow, get more customers, and so on and so forth, and only steal just so I can keep $8,000? Like, come on. However, you're building to the point where you got to then hit the 10 again, but now you have a system. So the real problem is this. You have to go backward in order to go forward. And also the other thing is you have to increase certain skills, which you probably don't want to increase, such as your selling, your marketing, your networking, and your ability to train. Okay. Your ability to train, inspire, retain employees. Your ability to build a system is very different from your ability to start a company. Let me say that again. Your ability to build a system is like 180 degrees on a different direction from your ability to start a company. The ability to start a company is mainly alphaing your way through it. It's mainly just, I'm just going to hop in. It's mainly like, I'm going to get on the bicycle, I'm going to fall, keep on falling. But to be able to build a consistent system that produces, by definition of system, consistent results, be able to bring people in, train them on the practices and procedures, be able to kind of take a step back into that more of a CEO manager role rather than just alphaing my way through it entrepreneur. It takes certain skills that people don't want to learn these skills. People don't want to be like, okay, I got to now hone in and focus on my selling skills now, since I'm not going to be the one doing the designs anymore or just selling in this. I got to focus on my networking. I got to focus on doing marketing. I got to focus on putting myself out there. And people say, what do they say? They're like, I don't have to do that. I could just chill. I could stay small, right? People say they want to fly under the radar. I'm sure you've heard that one before. I'm just flying under the radar. What does that even mean? What radar? Who's looking for you? It's almost like this kind of fear, like, oh, if I start poking my head out, the big boogeyman is gonna come get me. It's a Let's go Dan Pena with it. Some people might know Dan Pena in the chat. Jonathan Barronville probably knows Dan Pena. He seems like the kind of guy that will probably follow Dan Pena. Do you know Dan Pena, Bernard?
Negative.
Okay, he's this crazy drill sergeant type. In terms of business / motivation type or YouTube, right? He just calls you a wimp, cocksuck, whatever. Like just. His style is to just beat you down, military style. Like you ain't shit. And I like that. I like that kind of motivation. It's deep in the middle of the night. I got a deadline tomorrow. I'm getting tired. I throw on Dan Pena on YouTube, and he's like, "Hey," I'm like, oh damn, like it's like what the hell? Like people died in foxholes in Normandy or whatever, and you can't freaking complete this spreadsheet. What a freaking wuss, that kind of stuff,
Oh
right?
man, I need him. I need him in my life.
Exactly.
I will get off the air and go sit down somewhere, and then I got stuff I need to do. I'm like, let me just relax a little bit. Yeah, I can use that guy. Relax? What do you mean relax? Yeah, because yeah. I actually had to motivate. It was a weird thing when I was trying to find motivation to just stay busy, stay active, and do everything that I need to do. It's almost embarrassing saying this. It's not. But I did kind of have to go there, thinking about people dying in foxholes or storming the beaches of Normandy. But I had to go to raw. This is the embarrassing part. I had to say, look at what my ancestors had to endure. But here I am, not able to get this done. They had to endure so much pain for 400 years. I had to psych myself up like that to do it, but it worked. It worked, so I can imagine.
Yeah, whatever you got to do, and maybe you want to read I think the super chats are flowing in.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody coming through the super chats. K Polymath back in the building. He says, like, I think he means Bernard. Well, he said, go to Gang. You're a more well-traveled person. You know what these Gangzul or Hindustan. Build connection and trust with the group people / exports. Spend that time. I bet Ike went to Ethiopia. I mean, Ethiopia. Is he trying to say Ethiopia?
I think he's trying to say Ethiopia, and it is true. Yes, I did. I did find I think I mentioned before that one of the employees is from Ethiopia. Actually, it's an Ethiopian woman, a good engineer. So this is a second engineer that is a female that's actually good. In other words, I don't care if you're a man or woman, blue, green, blah, blah, blah. But yes, it is nice to go to Africa. Oh, okay. There are economic reasons as well. Like your dollar goes further, and both people win. And that's the whole thing about people who are like, oh, you're exploiting them. It's like, dude, we're both winning. Okay.
Yeah.
They like those dollars. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting good value. Everybody wins. What's the difference? You get a nice difference in terms of the expected wages in different places. Everybody wins. People are like, oh, it's exploitation. It's like, no, go to Ethiopia, find yourself a nice trained, whatever it is, or go to Ghana if you're trying to do some kind of call center. People speak English over there, and your dollar goes further. They love your dollars. You're getting a cheaper, more bang for your buck. Everybody wins.
Thank you for that, K Polymath. Appreciate you. Even though that's probably closer to $8.
That'll be $8.
Thank you very much, K Polymath. Appreciate you. He says last super chat for Bernard, not Ike for his hair. That was I think you muted Ike. Or are you muted?
No, I'm not. I'm just like,
it looked like you were. So it looked like words were coming out, but I wasn't 100% sure. But all right, yeah, I didn't quite understand what he meant last.
I think he's just taking shots.
Okay, yeah.
These last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
Snuggles says K Polymath. Polymers. Okay, have I been reading his name wrong? No, it's Polymath. Okay, she says polymers. Get doing good with the $2 super chat. When you step on the $5, you're messing with my business. Watch yourself, buddy. When a walking, talking Snuggles bear is making threats, you better take them serious. Shout out to Snuggles.
Hi, I'm Snuggly.
Even though that's not $5 that he sent, because he's from somewhere where they have a different currency. So you're good, Snuggles. You're good. You're still running the $5 market. Jonathan Barronfield in the building. He says, all this talk about the white man. Yet in my experience, as long as I come prepared, the white man has consistently been more likely to work with and invest in me. I love my black folks, but please understand that no one owes you anything. Thank you very much for that. Very well said. Totally agree.
$50. So that makes you rich?
It's a start.
Shout out to Jonathan Barronville. Brilliant young brother there. K Polymath in the building. He says, okay, Snuggles, I'm the 2-pound heavyweight. shout out to K Polymath. All right.
So
Queen,
we were
Queen Q, I'm serious. Send me an email. Your special guest on next Sunday, where we're etching that in stone. But but shout out to you. So it looks like none of my potential interview are coming in today. So you run a business, you're trying to hire black folks, and they can't even carry their ass to the damn interview. But anyway, all right. So yeah, we're gonna talk about all that. But all right, carry on, Ike, carry on.
So I mentioned, and this is to the question of, well, why people don't do this. And we say, well, you got to go backwards in order to go forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, there are skills that you need to develop that people don't want to develop skills. People don't want to skill up, right? And here's the other one: control freak. I like control too, right? I got $120,000 a year. I got a $10,000 pipeline. It's all mine. I get to control it. I get to do everything the way I want it done. My drawings look this way. My haircut, whatever it is. Like, I want to be the only person cutting hair because that other barber, the way he fades it, I got this employee barber. I don't really like the way he does. Whatever it may be, right? I mean, you can identify with that, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I understand.
Oh, you're not okay.
Well, when you use a barber example, I mean, I come on here, but I understand. I follow the logic of what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah. So this is something I experienced myself too. You don't want to relinquish control, give it over to somebody else. You don't want to say, okay, now you employee, you're good enough to handle the clients. There's something about the way the employee does the things that he does. It just kind of irks you a little bit, but you're going to need to give that up.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Now I follow exactly what you're saying. I don't necessarily have that problem. I'd actually be willing to relinquish some of that control. So I that's not a personal thing for me, but I know that is for some people who are very meticulous, probably a little OCD. They don't want to do that. Or if the person is doing it, even if the person is doing it well, they're going to come in like, you're supposed to set the cup right here when you do that. It's not a place. Put it back where it's supposed to be. It's like they're going to do something stupid like that. even though, so yeah, I totally understand what you mean. But no, I'm not that person. That's why I'm sitting here while we're talking, having all kind of epiphanies on how I'm going to build a pipeline. Yeah, it's
100%. I think then you're very well suited. If you don't have that control freak issue, I have the control freak issue. Okay, I'm very quite particular about the way my things are done, the way they should look, and also I'm very particular about speed. Right? It's like when the client sends you an email, you answer within ultimate. Like, you know what? Ideally, an hour and a half, they should have a response. When they call you, within maximum an hour and a half, if you didn't happen to pick up, they should get a call back. That kind of stuff. Be on the ball. Work the weekends. I don't care about all those kinds of things. You need to relax. In this case, need to relax a little bit about that kind of stuff now, because it's not all about me now. I got to create a system, and the system will never, no matter how finely tuned it is, will never produce the same exact results that I would produce. It's just not, and it's not even really what it's for. It's about producing consistent results, and it's about scalability. So I think that the last aspect of why people don't want to do this thing is because of control. And if you go backwards, it's also because they don't want to scale up. And if you go backwards again, it's because they don't want to literally go backwards in order to go forwards. They don't want to go from making $10,000 a month to making only $8,000 a month, because they're like, why would I do that? I can keep it all right now. They don't realize that, hey, what you're doing is you're freeing up time, right? You're freeing up time and that time is maybe that's worth $2,000 a month, because now someone else is doing the work and you're building a system for the future that can then scale. So we're going back to all those other advantages, right? We're now reminding this person that, hey, I get it. You don't want to level up. You don't want to scale up. You don't want to train people. You don't want to relinquish control. Fine. But guess what? You have to do that in order to get your time back so that you can focus on the things that you are best at, okay, which is more likely convincing people, right? Because you started a business after all. You got yourself into a market, convincing people, expanding things, so on and so forth, or, vacationing in Hawaii while your employees do the work. Because otherwise you got to be, you got to be the guy doing everything.
Mm-hmm. So, did we cover? Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that does deal with the fear of it, not necessarily the economics of it, but the fear why some people don't want to do it. The next question is, what's more important, cash or cash flow?
So again, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about tank versus pipeline. In this case, obviously, the tank is the cash, right? Like, I got a stack of cash.
Got it.
Versus I have money coming in. I got $10,000 a month coming in versus I got $120,000 just static, right? There's no flow. I just got that $120,000. Or I got $10,000 a month such that every year there's $120,000 coming in. And what's more important, right? I don't know. Jonathan Barronville, these Aaron B claims to be a businessman. Shots fired. Well, I don't know.
Aaron B claims to be a businessman.
I think he says he does some kind of he's drop shipping. He's something in the kind of internet/tech space. Maybe he can speak for himself. But I'm just calling him out here just so that he can contribute to the conversation regarding cash versus cash flow. Now, I think you might already kind of guess what my answer is.
Yeah. We covered it. I'm fumbling through show notes here, but yeah, we more or less covered the cash or cash flow. I wasn't I like to the question, what is the tank, what is the pipeline? That's the best way to explain it. The tank is the cash, the pipeline is the cash flow. That's the best way to explain it, to where people could readily identify and easily understand what is meant by tank and pipeline, because that can be confusing. But definitely, as far as that, it's all about the flow. And like I said, I'm sitting here with the epiphany, thinking of how I can increase cash flow, and it doesn't have to increase cash.
We'll talk about it. We'll drill down a little bit on more, but I don't know. Maybe want to read. He's not going for 5 pounds, trying to getting into Snuggles territory. But
no. He can. We would have to look up exactly how many pounds equals $5, so to truly know if he's trying to compete. But too many black businesses don't have reliability. The restaurant is closed. Oh my goodness.
It's true.
Yeah. There is there's a saying that I say here, like a lot of the businesses in on the black side of town in my city, for whatever reason, they're all closed on Monday. And I don't understand why. It's so yeah, I don't get it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. The restaurant is closed some days, or the menu not filled. Solopreneur curse. They don't see upmarket. There are actually some. It's a white sub place in that's actually close by me. A white owned by white people. You pull up, you try to get a sub, and they're like, "Sorry, we don't have any bread today." Like they run out of the bread to make the subs. I don't. So there's a lot of businesses have those problems. A small business problems. It happens, but it's it's a more common thing with black businesses that it's always, this is on the menu, we don't have that. Okay, could you add this? We don't got that either. Okay, what do you have? Ketchup packages. That's about it. But anyway, shout out to K Polymath.
Yeah. So, was there any other super chats? I don't know if you want to.
That you can set up a weave for balding man. Oh my goodness.
My God.
I think they already do that. It's called a man unit. I hear it's a thing. I hear it's a thing in Atlanta. That's what I hear. So I'll leave that there. But thank you for that. I think that's it. On the super chat. And
Good. So here's something, okay? We talked about the pipeline, right? That cash flow. So that person that decided to keep $120,000 and only makes $120,000, they have a cash flow of $10,000 a month. The other person, which is $120,000 a year. The other person that says, I want a cash flow of $220,000 a year, even though I'm filling up my little tank with still 120. We talked about how that extra 100 allows him to make moves and so on and so forth. We kind of gone through that process, but let's now dig in specifically into this cash flow thing, just from a purely business abstract point of view. Cash flow can be leveraged a lot harder than just cash. What do I mean by that? Okay. Jonathan Barronville, what do I mean by that? So we watched Shark Tank, or we've all at least seen it once.
Yeah, it was my favorite show for a while. I just literally watched it every damn day. But
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was one of the when TV started actually getting good again. Like, well, I don't know what's going on with TV right now, but it was one of those shows on TV. Like, it's almost reminiscent of like a YouTube thing. It was actually you could learn, and it was entertaining as well. It wasn't just
Shark Tank kind of lost me when it started to seem like it started turning into Charity Tank. Oh, I really like what this doing. This is so nice and feel good. And let me just give you just this sweet, easy deal that you're not even going to have to think twice about.
Are you saying you don't like the fact that they brought in the women and the
there's some times where the sharks are not really being sharks, and they're not they're not trying to offer a deal that's going to be a really sweet deal for them that the entrepreneur probably shouldn't take. I thought some of my favorite shows is when the entrepreneur stood his ground and said, no, that's not a good deal for me. I'll be giving up too much of my business. What are you offering me? If you're going to try to take that much of my business, a guy told him, if you take that much of my business, I become lazy as an entrepreneur, because I'm basically you're trying to make me your employee at this point, and I'm not trying to be your employee. You're an investor, so you can offer that much, and I can and own 5% or 10%, and then I will still go equally hard as I'm going right now, because I know I'm going to make more with your investment. So I'm going to go hard to make me more, and you're just going to take a little sliver off the top because of your investment. But if you're trying to take 40%, almost 50% of my company, now I'm just and think you're just going to sit back with your feet up and collect the money. No, I can't, do that. That's when it was Shark Tank, because it was some investors they're up there crying like, man, we got to give up 30%. That's going to be so hard. What are we going to do? But then eventually it just turned into a situation where it was like, sure. Well, on some shows it goes back and forth, but sometimes you see shows where they're like, sure, I'll give you $100K for 5% of your business. Awesome, that's wonderful. Let's go. Let's hug and play the music and then walk off. I was like, it's turning into Charity Tank. They're just making charitable contributions to random businesses at this point, and it lost kind of the feel, the oomph of the show. But anyway. Carry on. You were speaking and I interrupted, but Shark Tank was my favorite show for a while, and it got soft after a minute.
Yeah, but Snuggles is up again, and I think it's a good battle you got going on. I think Bernard benefits from this battle.
Hey, I've benefited from some $100 super chat battles to the point where I had to say, all right, stop. Nobody, because I don't mind being a recipient, but I did feel bad after a while. But that's the Manosphere for you, brothers with deep pockets, competing, having penis measuring contest over who could super chat the most. And I felt odd as a man being the judge in a the recipient and or judge in a dick measuring contest. I didn't. I was like, okay, y'all keep me out of it. I want to measure dicks. You guys can get together and do that on your own. I keep me out of it. But but anyway, Snuggles in the building. K Polymath. Didn't I warn you? Didn't I warn you? I'm just gonna read some Snuggles super chats exactly as they are. I'm not going to infer what you mean. Didn't I warn you already? I just turned my back to go into the cave. And this is what you do across the pond we go. Huh. Thank you, Snuggles. She ain't going for it. This bear is going to climb over the Snuggles logo.
Hi, I'm Snuggle. Snuggly softness. That's really less expensive.
It was on the way. It was on the way.
She's going across the pond, going to meet K Polymath. Someone, I think Yellow Man got brought up. Zungu zung zugu zungu zang. Shout out to the person talking about it. They know what I just did there. So, anyways, Bernard's like, what the fuck? What just happened? Don't worry about it. It's okay. Private conversation in the chat. We're talking about cash flow, and I brought up Shark Tank because I think that cash flow, beyond all the other things which we said you can do with it, we said you can make moves. Well, what kind of moves? You notice in Shark Tank, right? When you go to Shark Tank and you have this business, I don't know, you're selling water, whatever it is. They don't ask you, hey, so Bernard, selling water, how much do you have in your bank account? No, They say, what's the flow? How many units are you selling? What's the cash flow, right? What are you pulling in? Because nobody cares about a stack, because the real power, okay, the real power in the marketplace is the power to pull money out of people's pockets. And that is the gold standard. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care how much money you got. If you show me that you're consistently pulling out of people's pockets $100,000 a month, because it's hard, right? It's not easy to control that pipeline. I don't care that you have to take all that money and then you reinvest it back into your business, or I don't care where you're storing that money. I don't care about your tank. But you're showing me consistently for the past 2 years, you were able to go into the marketplace in this tough economy. Economies are always tough because there's competition, so on and so forth, right? And pull $100,000 a month out of somebody's pockets, a group of pockets. I want in. So point is, you can leverage your cash flow with investors. When you go to the bank or you go to Shark Tank and you say, hey, invest in me, you say, well, why should I invest in you? Well, look at my balance sheet. Look at the amount of cash flow I have. My cash flow can definitely pay the debt service. In other words, whatever monthly payment on this loan you're going to give me, I can pay easily. How? Look at that. I pull in from the marketplace consistently $100,000 a month. They don't care that, it's not like, well, how much do you have in your bank account? Nobody ever asks any entrepreneur that. Is the flow, because the flow represents the actual power. The power is you are able to, it's like a magnetic current or electromagnetism. You have a positive charge, negative pole, and you're causing that flow to happen. I don't care where you're putting the money. How much you stashed. In this case, the tank. It's about the flow. And the bigger the flow, the more consistent the flow, the more who are these people at Shark Tank? The sharks, they're investors.
Yeah, investors, yeah.
The investors are going to be jumping over themselves trying to get at what? The flow. You could come in and be like, hey, I have $2 million in the bank. And you're like, okay, well, what? Like, what's that supposed to do for me? It gets eaten away. The tank gets eaten away by what? Inflation, okay? The tank gets eaten away by all kinds of things which you don't necessarily see, but the flow is the key. So number one, the flow can be leveraged. And number two, the flow represents the actual power. Okay, what's powerful? It's not your stack. It's your ability to move from one person's pocket, move it your way. Now, how you distribute that money is up to you. You invest it in your company. You pay your employees. You have overhead. You do this, you do that, and you stack some. Doesn't matter. But you have a consistent current of money coming in. That's where people look at you and be like, whoa, I want a piece of what you're doing, because it's hard to create current in the marketplace. It's hard to create flow in the marketplace. And that's why cash flow is more important than cash.
Gotcha. Theo Wolf in the building. And I do believe this is the same Theo who was taking a shot for the super chat Jesus crown over on Kevin Samuel's show. Is that the same Theo? There was a Theo over there that was super chatting hard and heavy. I don't know if this is the same Theo or not. I don't know. But either way, shout out to Theo Wolf in the building. Appreciate the super chat. Where don't can't find it, lost it, just dropping the bomb. Thank you, Theo. Appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. Jonathan Barronville in the building with a $5 super chat says maybe I should go for Snuggles territory. I don't think she's going for it. You don't want her coming to get you. You do not want her coming to get you.
So that's Theo, huh?
Yeah, I think that's the okay. Yeah, he do. Okay, that's him. Yeah, he said, yeah, super chat hard with Kevin Samuels. Yeah, he was coming for your crown a little bit over there, but he lost. I mean, it's look, losing a game of 1-on-1 to Michael Jordan, even if it was a blowout. If you scored a few points, you did good. You did good. But but yeah,
shout out to Theo. Shout out to Theo.
Yeah, Theo. Yeah, Theo used to be over there going ham on him. But but yeah, definitely shout out to Theo. So one thing in the show notes, I think we get it on the cash versus cash flow, tank versus pipeline. I'm glad see, you don't understand how much I actually get out of these discussions with you, because
that's good.
It's changing the way that you're changing the way that I look at certain things. I can't wait to get to work with my whole little game plan that I'm going to be going with now. I'm gonna go do some big things after this conversation. So one last thing in the show notes here. Why is there a lot of advantage in being the middleman?
Great question, Bernard. I'm glad you asked. And obviously, it's not obvious, but it might not be obvious. But this relates to the whole tank versus pipeline thing, because the middleman is like that pipeline, right? Right. The middleman, in the case, let's say, for example, the bank that controls the flow of transactions takes a cut, right? He doesn't have to expend a lot of energy. Take, for example, if you're an immigrant, you know about Western Union. I'm sure Jonathan Barronville has maybe to send some money sometimes to grandma in Haiti or something, or whoever it may be. If you're an immigrant, you know about Western Union.
Jonathan Barronville, he don't send shit back.
He don't send shit back.
No, he said fuck them. He don't send a damn thing back. Anyway, I'm just playing. I don't know that.
So you know about Western Union. What does Western Union do? Western Union literally is like an email service. If you want to analogize it, like an email service that just takes part of the money that you're sending. In this case, you're sending money rather than emails. It's like, but literally though, in the exchange of value world, and this is the whole thing about cryptocurrency, it's literally like the only reason they're there is to be a clearinghouse, if you will, because you need somebody to verify that, hey, $200 actually did come from Jonathan Barronville. It arrived at our store. We have our system of checking it. We put it into this account, and then we charge Jonathan $20 or whatever. And then we gave the $200 to Jonathan's family in Haiti, right? That's the only reason they're there, is because you need some third party to verify. Otherwise, it's literally like an email. You're just sending money to somebody, right? And that's why, some of these other maybe freer services like let's say PayPal and so on and so forth, makes some more sense. And when we go full crypto, full blockchain, at some point, the friction is going to be completely gone, right? And that's why one of the reasons why banks don't like crypto, even though they're going to be, at the end of the day, they're going to be, especially the big banks, they're going to be the ones that are going to be benefiting the most from the blockchain technology, because of course they're implementing it. They're thinking about how they're going to make a lot of benefit from it. Anyways, so this middleman question here is the pipeline question. The bank that takes a cut, the country that controls the canals. Okay, You control the Suez Canal. You control the Straits of Hormuz. You control the Panama Canal, right? You don't have to be the producer of the oil, but you simply are the person that they have to come to. Let me put it another way. You, Bernard's channel, for example, is the neutral ground, okay? So there's a lot of respect for that neutral ground, like Switzerland. I think you said yesterday, like, you're the Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
You're like the net. You're like the pipe that whereby Tommy Sotomayor can come in and have an argument with Obsidian, right? So you don't have to be Tommy or Obsidian. You don't have to deal with Tommy problems or Obsidian problems, right?
You're
right?
on to me. You're on to
Well,
me.
you can be the plug, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So this is the same principle. Before I said that whole tank and pipeline principle is a very high up, kind of very abstract, and then it overlays on many different aspects. Cash versus cash flow. Should you expand your pipeline in terms of business? Blah 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 blah. Also, in this particular regard, when you are that node, the network that connects nodes, and you don't have to take on the risk. Switzerland don't have to worry about being bombed. Bernard's like, I'm just facilitating communication. But guess what? A lot of people show up to Bernard's channel because Tommy and Obsidian, whomever, are having a conversation about it. More likely now, people are like, okay, we want to settle the score. I'm not going to go to your channel, Mr. Scores, that I'm settling the score with. You're not going to come to my channel. You know what? Let's go to Bernard's channel, right? So if you have a reputation as a connector of people, a connector of nodes within a network, you can have a lot of hassle-free value that comes to you, right? You're like, okay, I don't produce the oil, but I control this waterways. I control the transportation. All I got to do is just take a cut. I just take 1% with each transaction, and I become stupid rich, and I just chill. I don't know if you
quit exposing my strategy here.
No, I brought that one because I know that's right in your wheelhouse, right? So you control the pipeline. You're a particular pipeline here in this that connects many aspects of the network, and that's why you don't have to stack up a whole bunch of subscribers, but you can get a lot of flow coming through here, right? And that flow generates revenue, generates value, generates importance. You're like, Bernard's channel is important. Well, why? Well, because he's the neutral ground, the Switzerland. He's the bank, y'all. Bernard, don't. He's getting Bernard exposed. You are like the bank. So that is the main, and this is another kind of tangential thing, right? Because we've talked about it from a business perspective, from a cash flow perspective, and so on and so forth. But this one is more on the abstract level, okay? And maybe I may be losing some people right now because they're like, well, how do I be a in-between guy? I think Bernard's channel is an example, but this is just one particular example on YouTube. But it is important, therefore, to be a trusted kind of connector of people. So I connect Mr. O'Shea Duke Jackson with Dr. Thunder, for example. I connect Dr. Thunder with some other people, for example. The ability to connect people, okay, because sometimes some people are like, well, why would I want to do that? What's in it for me? Trust me, over time, you'll see a lot of benefits without having to take a lot of the risk or put in a lot of the work. You're going to be just like the bank. Oh, you want to transact money? You got to go through me. You want to have a conversation about issues in the Manosphere? We're going to meet on neutral ground, which is Bernard's channel.
I like it. I didn't I did notice that that my channel, it did started becoming the middle ground, the neutral ground. There was a channel called the Neutral Zone that used to exist in this space, and I kind of got some of the idea of how I wanted to run it, kind of looking at that. So shout out to her. She's not doing content right now. As far as I know, she's not doing content right now. But I did kind of gather some of the idea and the notion from her. I did used to have, it's funny, I used to have an idea of it being, this was a while ago, and I've changed and flip-flopped on this plenty of times, but this is going bringing women back into the discussion. I used to actually want this to be just such a neutral place that it was 50% women, 50% men. I actually did want it to be that type of place, but then once I got going and I start seeing how things go, I was like, no, we gotta rethink some of this stuff. But I keep going back and forth and flip-flopping on that idea. But far as being a pipeline, yes, it's true that I don't have to be as exciting, entertaining, entertaining, and also infuriating as, say, an Obsidian. I don't have to be entertaining and irritating as Obsidian if I got Obsidian on my show. I don't have to have all those all those different attributes. Let me bring people in. Let me bring this person in. Let me bring that person in. Let me interview that person. Let me, I now I got the ball rolling. I got a channel here. I see somebody talented like Little Big Nate. Okay, let me give him a platform. Let me let him use my platform, and he's using my platform to build his name, and I'm using his talent to also help build my platform. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. So yeah, I did try to facilitate as many mutually beneficial arrangements as possible, to where, yeah, I did basically become, I didn't look at it like that. So you changed the way that I look at things. I became a place where just there's a lot of flow coming in and coming out of it. And that has he said, I follow irritation. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that definitely was a thing, but I never even thought to make a parallel with that in business having more flow than cash. But the flow, having the flow helps, because all the people that I bring in, yeah, subscribers come from all of those different people. Like, I don't want to take full credit for Little Big Nate, but in my own way, I'm using air quotes here. I put Little Big Nate on, so to speak, as they say. I don't want to, I'm just using the air quotes, but I'm finding out now there's people who are finding out about me because of Little Big Nate. I just recently had somebody say, "Oh, I found out about Bernard through Little Big Nate's channel," and
You
I'm
never
like,
know. You never know.
full circle.
Never
So
know.
I was happy about that. So
it's like the people whom, quote unquote, maybe they put Kevin Samuels on, or they were on Kevin Samuels, oh, Kevin Samuels came on their show, so and so, and then, in other words, you never know who is gonna surpass you, blow up, become huge, and then in reverse, people now start hearing about you from them. So there's something called, business development and sales is also kind of an aspect of this. In other words, business development is that person that connects people, brings people into the room, right? And that is always a key aspect. Jay-Z was known for this, right? Jay-Z was known as the person where it's like, he's like neutral ground. Okay, this person is beefing with that person. This person wants to get out of their contract. Someone is complaining about Puff Daddy stealing their whatever, which he's quite good at. Blah, blah, blah. And Jay-Z would be that guy that people would respect enough. People that he has always played up, because he's a very business-minded type of person. So he has always been doing that. And it's not something like people don't just show up to you all of a sudden. No, it's like you've been doing it forever. That's why. Before you guys were anybody, Jay-Z was the guy settling the beefs. Jay-Z was the guy that was making sure things were equitable, and things everybody had a fair shake, and things were kept on moving. The ability to kind of bring down the tensions, all these different aspects that facilitate communication between different people is very key. Okay, so this is more of a kind of a soft skill, and on the marketing end of thing, on the business development end of thing, it's a soft skill. You got to understand, one of the reasons to network is not just so that you can get something from it. One of the good reasons to network is so that you can connect people with other people, right? Like, I've never had O'Shea on my channel. I helped other people get O'Shea on their channels, and I haven't even had O'Shea on my channel yet, right? So it's like, why did I do that? It's like, no, it's not about me. Well, ultimately, it is about me. It's all about me. Let me scratch that. It's all about me. But you got to understand the long game. You got to be that guy that's like, Ike does all these things and he never asks for anything. But Ike has a plan. Ike knows that when you have this fertile ground where people can come and play, you're going to get a lot of the, the things that they drop on the floor, if you will. That's a silly metaphor, but I guess you guys know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Jonathan Barronville. He says a business with 50K MRR. What is that, Ike?
I have no idea. He's doing this acronym. Something about, I'm sure return is one of the R's.
Money return, money revenue. Okay, and 5 to 10% MOM. What is that, Ike? Come on, Ike. Come on. Okay, growth is significantly more attractive to me than a business with 2 million in the bank. Yeah.
Yep. He's just talking about those things have to do with flow. Obviously, that's all I care. As far as because if we go into the particular definition, because it's like all that stuff about in real estate too, they have their own acronyms, and what's the market cap and what's the this and it's just like, well, it really comes down to what's coming in versus what's going out, right? That's what business is all about, right? So it really is about flow versus what he has in the end, which is the tank. $2 million in the bank, and what does that really mean? But when you see a nice big pipeline of flow, again, what does that mean to the market? It means this person actually has the ability to pull money out of people. I don't care how much he has in the bank, right?
Yeah.
Goshen
in the building says, "Shalom, my contribution to the intermittent irritation. Thank you, Goshen, for your $100 contribution to the show today. And whenever we get $100 super chat around here, we gotta have Smokey count it out, make sure it's all there.
20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140.
That's $100.
$100. Coach Ali's Corner. Since we're on this topic, what do you brothers think about word of mouth compared to actual investing in marketing / advertising? You brothers could benefit from a Google ad for your shows. Good stuff. Well said. Good question. We're going to pass that one to Ike. Appreciate it. And before we pass that to Ike, Jonathan Barronville, who just came through here stunting on us with the wonderful acronyms, he's clarifying MRR, monthly reoccurring revenue, and MOM says month over month. Okay, great. Glad you cleared that up.
These types of people, like, who gives a crap?
Get
more flow. I don't care what you call it. Get more flow. So that's a whole entrepreneur versus CEO type of thing.
Hold on, we're slipping. Somebody is saying, what's Ike's channel called?
Yeah, moderators.
It's called Ike Ogiamian.
They should be dropping the link.
It's called. Oh, okay. You don't got your whole name right there. See, if you had your whole name right there on the screen instead of just Ike, maybe he would have been able to figure that one out.
Yeah, let me find my link or something and do it myself.
Yeah, he typed in Ike and he did. Let me see what happens when we type in Ike.
Oh, it's gonna give you Eichmann or something about the Holocaust. Who knows?
Some gamer channel. Somebody from South Park. I think somebody's little brother name was Ike. 5 tips to improve your Ike. That's a gaming channel. Ike Turner is I think that's yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, Ike Ogiamian. But yeah. Ike Turner documentary. Okay. Yeah, so anyway.
So the whole thing about advertising versus word of mouth. Yes, there it is. The link is in the chat. Moderators, please go ahead, and I think we only have like 10 minutes or something. I have one of those as a matter of fact, these meetings that I have on Sundays are actually with the employees, the international employees. So it's part of a system that I have to do instituted in order to kind of communicate, blah blah blah, right? So I'm having one of those meetings in about, so we got like 10 minutes left.
10 minutes. Okay.
So marketing, word of mouth. You have to look at where your business comes from. In other words, in order to answer the question, you have to look at right now, where does your business actually come from? And typically, if you're in the service sector, right, a lot of your business tends to come from word of mouth, especially if you do something like engineering. That's why you don't see a lot of engineering advertising. You ever seen a billboard of an engineering company? Like, you seen an ad for an engineering company? It tends not to be
No,
that
you
way.
don't see that much.
It tends to be something about reputation within the particular, because you're serving a particular niche, right? Like me, for example, I serve industrial clients, right? And the people who are construction companies and contractors, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, building, whatever, for industrial clients, they're a small group, right? And what you want to do is you want to infiltrate that. Now, so why I'm saying where does your business come from is this. If you notice, and you will notice if you're in the service sector, that a lot of your business actually does come from referrals. And as a matter of fact, referrals are the cheapest. In other words, you get the most bang for your buck because your clients told their cousins, hey, use Ike. The level of trust that they now have, these cousins of your clients, is almost invaluable. You can't pay for that level of trust. The cousin told them to come to you, and they tend to stay as well. So clients that come through referrals tend to have a higher level of retention. Also, a lot of clients are already coming from your from referrals anyway. So let me mention this. This is a very important point, okay? But when you ask businesses, do you have a systematic, consistent way, at least 5 systems for ensuring referrals? The answer is usually no. But they may have ads and they may have all these other systems, right? All these other marketing systems. But what are your systems for ensuring referrals? And they're like, what is that kind of a system? Well, imagine this. This is the one that I use, for example. There are many systems. In other words, people out there, you have any kind of business, any kind of endeavor, any kind of thing that you're trying to spread out. Think about, referrals are cheap. Referrals are they come in with a high level of trust for you and they tend to stay longer. Okay. So why am I not using the engine of referrals? So one simple trick is this. Let me put you up on some game, right? So when you acquire a new client or in the midst of acquiring a new client, you tell them this. You say, hey, us at Prometheus Engineering, we make most of our revenue. We get most of our clients through word of mouth. Okay. So after we do this job for you, okay, when we get this job, if we get this job, right, it may be even before you get the job, and we do an excellent work for you, if we exceed your expectations, which I'm sure we will, all we ask is that you refer us to a colleague of yours of equal caliber, right? If we do a good job, we're asking that you, in other words, upfront, you're telling them that you expect them, a part of this deal, like, there's certain things that, I have that whole questions thing where you ask people questions. One of the questions I actually ask people is like, you want me to succeed, right? It's more like it's a jocular kind of question, right?
That's why I'm a bad salesman, because like stuff like that, I always cringe on the inside when I even think about saying something like that. But it's necessary. Like that's why I laughed when you said if we meet your expectations, which I'm sure we will. It's like stuff like that. I'm like, oh God.
You gotta play the game.
I cringe at that. That's why I'm a crappy salesman. I'm just like, hey, this is the product. This is how much it costs, man. You want it or take it or leave it. It'll do the thing that you needed to do.
Exactly, man. Exactly. But the whole thing is this, and I'm still answering this question from K coaching or
Coach Ali's Corner.
Coach Ali, that's the other coach. Coach Ali's Corner. If you get any now, so ads are great. I think that wherever there are eyeballs, you need to put yourself there. There is no, oh well, I'm partial to Facebook, I'm partial to Instagram, I'm partial. Like, no, if there are eyeballs there, you want to be there because there are people there, and you never know what the potential client. So all that kind of marketing stuff is good. But what I'm talking, since you bring up the juxtaposition between that and referrals, is I'm saying, hey, a lot of people get their business from referrals. Referrals are cheap. Referrals come with a high level of trust, and referrals tend to stay. Hence, how about a system for referrals? Obviously, you do both, right? For the people who are like, oh, but all those either or people out there, some people have a strong problem with either or. It's like, dude, okay, sure, do both. But the place where people tend to lack is a systematic approach to referrals. Now, there are many such systems, but I just gave you one. I say, hey, Mr. Client, we survive by referrals, okay? The job starts. If we do a good job for you, refer us. So when the job closes, and throughout the job, you're gauging whether they're happy or not, you want to remind them again, say, hey, would you be willing to, do you know anybody of equal caliber? Notice I'm saying equal caliber. That's a way of stroking their back, right? Like, hey, I want to work with people of equal caliber as you, Bernard.
See, that was
you're gonna cringe again at doing stuff like
that's you're asking for more business while simultaneously stroking their ego.
You gotta do it. So I'm like, these things are, look, and I'm an introvert, right? As you know, so these are not like natural things, but it could be argued that introverts, because it's not natural to them, they're very systematic and surgical when it comes to either selling, marketing, or communication in general. Like for me, communication is a systematic, surgical thing. I'm not just here like, oh, I like to talk. It's like, no.
Yeah, see, my introvertedness negatively affects me when it comes to that, but yours actually helps you because you're not just, like you said, you're not just lollygolly, just having a good time out here talking. No, you're coming in with a plan, with a script, almost like you're like you. Well, I don't know if you kind of. I don't know if you agree with the whole script thing, but you have.
Oh no, it's equivalent to a script because I always have these particular images in my head and how they fit and how they're moving around. I always say the one sentence rule. You should be able to, whatever presentation, even you're going to have a 5-hour long conversation, you should be able to condense it to one sentence, which is, for example, let's say I'm going to go give a presentation. I'm like, hi, my name is Ike. I specialize in seismic bracing. And today it is my intention to show you how I can save you 50%. That's yes, 50% on your installation costs. So that's one sentence. It says who I am, what I specialize in, how you're going to save it. I say it with gusto and all that stuff. And then there's going to be 5 hours of conversation about that whole thing.
Now, I'm still making fun of salesmen because you said I can save you 50%. Now nobody said anything, but you're like 50%. Yes, 50%. Like the whole room looked up and said 50%. You're like yes.
Well, you know why I did that.
I know why you did it. It's just funny.
That's the game. The game. Yes, Jessica X. I'm an introvert. A lot of people tend to confuse introversion for like shyness. It's not the same thing. Introversion just means I'd rather be alone. It doesn't mean I can't communicate. Doesn't mean I don't actually like to communicate. As a matter of fact, introverts tend to be better at a lot of understanding other people's soul, if you will, because we're always inside of ours, right? So I can manipulate the hell out of a soul, if you will, more than most extroverts, because I know what's going on in there. So it's not about shyness. It's about my interest. I want to sit and solve problems. I want to sit and write music. I want to sit and write and read philosophy. Those are not pursuits that involve other people. They're very solitary activities, So that's what introversion is mainly about. And also the main thing is energy, okay? I revamp my energy by being alone. I go back in my cave and I revamp the energy, right? And then what I'm doing right now is I'm giving energy out. Extroverts, when they're in a room, they're actually just absorbing energy, right? They're like, woohoo, this is so great. For me, I'm spending. I'm giving it. And then I got to leave in order to go recharge. So it doesn't mean I'm shy. It doesn't mean I don't want to talk, that kind of a thing. It's mainly about what I just described. So again, have a systematic way of getting referrals. Also do the marketing in terms of ads and so on and so forth. But to reiterate, basically, it is cheap to get referrals. People trust you when they're referred to you, and they tend to stay. So have a systematic way. One simple way is to ask your client before the job starts, tell them that you depend on referrals, and then ask them again, take your hat off and be like, hey, did we do a good job? Tell somebody about it. And it's worth a lot in terms of ads.
Michael Ross in the building with the super chat. Appreciate that. Jonathan Barronville says, gotta kiss some booty if you want to sell some product. It's sort of true. But a good salesman like Ike wouldn't describe it as kissing booty, but that's the non-salesman says, oh, that's just a bunch of ass kissing. But you can't look at it that way. You can't look at it that way. But you got to kiss some booty if you want to sell some product. The equation is numbers of booty kiss equals numbers of products sold. Go ahead and correct them on that, Ike.
Well, the two corrections.
Concede the point. Concede the point. You're an ass kisser.
You gotta kiss more ass than you sell. Okay, you for every 100 asses, maybe if you're good, if you sell 20, right, from every 100 asses you kiss. Okay, so the point though is this. Okay, when it comes to closing, when it comes to getting the deal done, there is a system. It is surgical. There is a process. Go to my channel. Yes. Go to my channel. Click on the link that was just dropped by, I think Beauty Thug or something, right? Click on that. Go to the playlist. There's a playlist called Sales and Presentations. I break down everything, okay, when it comes to communication, selling, and all those kinds of soft skills. I'll continue to make videos on those topics, but it's one of the things that unique little things that I bring to the table. Why? Because I've systematized it. I'm an engineer and I'm an introvert. It's not some kind of natural, I like to go and talk to people. No, I talk to people with a purpose. So if you want to understand how I do it systematically and consistently, you go and look at the system, one of which is shut up about your title, shut up about your last name, shut up about your history. Notice when I came and I said, hey, I'm Ike. I specialize in seismic bracing, and I'm here to show you. And I did that whole 50%. Notice I didn't come and say, hi, my name is Ike O'Gammon. I'm the engineering solution specialist for Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. I've been in this industry for... People are sleeping at that point. No, my name is Ike. What's my last name? Who cares? Right? What's my title? Who cares? I'm Ike, and I'm here to show you this. Simplicity. That's why I like mode 1 a lot, because mode 1 is about simplicity and directness is more simple than indirectness.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. You said you got a meeting, so I'm not going to do you like they do me on my own show. They hold me hostage on my own show when I'm ready to leave, so I'm not going to hold you hostage. You have to get on with your all albino Ethiopian crew and and have a meeting, so good luck with that. Thanks again for another good show. And I love when I have these shows with Ike where I come away like thinking, I really learned a lot and some stuff that I can apply. So I definitely love it. And if y'all not subscribed to Ike, make sure y'all go over there. Queen Q said she just subscribed. Saw a few people in the chat who just subscribed. So with that said, we are out of here. Thank you everybody who like, share, subscribe, did anything to support the channel in any way, shape, or form. Whether you hit the Cash App, the Super Chat, the whatever the hell. Let me just real quick. Oh, shout out to ikeyfob.com. He sends me Super Chat. He sends me Cash Apps. He sent me a $50 Cash App the other day and I missed it. And I've missed it again almost today. Shout out to you, ikeyfob.com. I'm advertising your website because that's what it says right here. Ike, that's your Cash App. It says the letter I, key, spelled like key, fob, ikeyfob.com. I have no idea what I'm sending people to. That could be some crazy website that shows,
keys of coke.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, anything. But ikeyfob.com sends me Cash Apps. So hey, shout out to ikeyfob.com. Good advertisement here. But all right, with that said, we are out of here. Peace.